In the previous video, we looked at how we can use Excel to find statistical information about sets of data. And in the blue table here, we have the results that we found from that video. Now what I'm going to do in this follow-up video is show you how you can use your CASIO calculator in order to generate the same data. Now just as a reminder, what we're looking at here is sample data, not population data. And the reason it's sample data is because our production manager has only sampled data from one given day out of each month. So there's potentially another 29 or 30 days in that month when no data is being collected. So this represents a sample of data. Now the first thing that we need to do if we want to produce this information is tabulate our data. And the way that we do that is first of all by entering the stat mode. So if we click mode and then number 2 for stat, you'll see that a number of different options are displayed. But if you look at number 2 there, A plus BX, what that's going to allow us to do is input some data. Now we have an X column and a Y column, which is exactly the same as we have over here for staff and production. So all we're going to do is input the data that we have from our table here into our calculator. So we have 17, 19, 27, 23, 21, 21, 24, 23, 16, 25, 21 and 23. And alongside that, we can put our Y data. So if we go back to the top, alongside 17, we have 180. Alongside 19, we have 194. Alongside 27, we have 192. Alongside 23, we also have 192. Alongside 21, we have 201 and then 206. Alongside 24, we have 188. Alongside 23, we have 204. Then we have 193, 199, 198, and finally 202. So we've inputted all of the data from our table into our calculators. What we need to do next is click AC, and it's not going to clear that data, it's going to keep that stored in a table. Now the way that we recall that information and start to interrogate that data is by clicking Shift and 1. And you'll notice just above the 1 key there, it does actually say stat. So we do that and it brings up a new table. There's two things that we're interested in here. The first is var, which will give us our mean, variance and standard deviation. And the second is reg for regression, which will give us our PMCC and our A and B values. So let's begin by clicking 5. Now as we look here, we can see some of the things that we've already used. We've got X bar, we've got Y bar, they're our average values. And we've got X sigma n and we've got X sigma n minus 1 and the same for Y. Now if you refer to your formula sheets, then what you'll notice is when it's population data, we multiply by 1 over n, and when it's sample data, we multiply by 1 over n minus 1. Some calculators will actually show this as sigma and s, but let's just have a look at our equation sheet just to demonstrate what we mean. So here, when we have sample data, we can see that we multiply by 1 over n minus 1, and above when we have population data, we can see that we multiply by 1 over n. That's the difference between these two formulas. So for the purpose of this activity, where we're using sample data, we're going to need to use x sigma n minus 1 and y sigma n minus 1, and that's going to return our standard deviations. If we wish, we can square those to get our variance. So let's do each of those things now. First of all, I'm going to get the mean of my X data. So I'm going to press number 2 and equals. And we see we get the same value, 21.6 recurring. And here I'm just going to type 21.67. 2 decimal places will be fine for that. Now, if I go back to that stat mode, so Shift 1, and go back to var, number 5, I can now find y bar by doing number 5 and equals. And I get 195.75. So I'm going to skip the two variance columns and I'm going to go straight to the standard deviation for x. So shift 1, 5 for var, and I want number 4, which is the standard deviation for sample data. Depending on your calculator, this may be shown as S rather than sigma. Sigma usually denotes population data and S normally denotes sample data. But we'll work with what we have, so number 4 equals, and we have 3.20 to 2 decimal places, which is the same as we had using Excel. Returning again, so shift 1 and 5. This time we're going to press number 7 because we want the standard deviation of our Y data. And we get 7.40 to 1 decimal place. I could square each of those values to get my variance, but to be honest, we're more interested in the standard deviation. Usually we use variance as a means to getting to the standard deviation rather than the other way round. Now we have our next three, which relate to the regression line and the correlation of the data. So if I press Shift and 1 again to return to my menu, this time I'm going to hit 7 because I want regression information, or information about the regression line. And here we see 1 is A, 2 is B, and 3 is R. So let's do those in sequence. 1 is A, and A is 182.48. Shift 1 again, back to our menu. 7, and this time we're going to press 2 to find our B value. 2 and equals 0.61 to 2 decimal places. And finally our value of R, the product moment correlation coefficient, or PMCC. And we go Shift 1 back to the menu. 7, and this time we're going to hit 3 and equals. And we get our value of 0.265 to 3 decimal places. So I hope you found this series of videos useful, looking at a number of different ways for producing statistical data. We've looked at hand calculation methods, we've looked at methods using Excel, and finally we've looked at how we can use the functions on our calculators. Thanks for listening.